Namaste, Vandanam, Vanakkam. Welcome to this edition of Carnatic Talk along with my friend Sai.
Namaste, Arka. A pleasure to see you again.
I would like to play some more of our Raga game, Sai.
I'm game. Kalyani.
That's too easy for somebody like you. Okay, now let's try something.
Latangi.
Latangi. So see, I just changed one note and see how the
Yeah.
ragam changed. Right?
Yeah, I mean, even if it's drastically different, sometimes it could be very challenging to find out. So when it's this close to show the difference is something magical about the ragas, which brings me to the first question of today's episode.
Okay.
What is a raga?
Ah, we're down at the fundamentals. Yes, very,
Yeah.
very important to know that. Well, the word raga itself has many meanings. It communicates color, it communicates passion, feeling. And that is what Carnatic music is all about, right? It's about bhavam and communicating the feeling. And we have a very elaborate system of ragas in Carnatic music. Now, a lot of people ask me, especially when you travel to the West, so people say, a raga is like a scale. So it is not a scale. It is like a scale, but it is not a scale because a raga is filled with a lot of little nuances, little sophistications, which we technically call gamakas. But these are what give life to a raga. And it teaches us how we approach different notes. Okay, so the position of a note may be specific. Like for instance, Sarega padani sa ni da pa magare sa.
Hara Hara Priya.
Hara Hara Priya. Sarega padani sa ni da pa magare sa. We don't sing it like that, right? Sarega padani sa ni da pa magare sa. So these little inflections are called gamakas, but I'm not going to speak about gamakas today. This is just to give you an idea of how a raga is created. So without the inflections, it could be a scale or what we call as the melakarta. But a melakarta and a janaka raga are not exactly the same thing. Like, as you could see from what I explained to you about Karhara Priya. So the mela would be the plain notes. Sarega ma padani sa ni da pa magare sa. That would be the mela notes, but the ragam itself has the inflections, and that is what gives bhavam to a ragam. That is why it's very difficult to notate Carnatic music, because we have so many inflections, so many different kind of ornamentations. So now we have different ragas which are based on different swara combinations. So you can have what is a janaka or a parent raga is a raga which has all these 7 notes. We did Kalyani or even Karhara Priya. Sarega ma padani sa Sani da pa ma ga re sa. Now, this is a raga which takes the notes in the same sequence as they are meant to be, right? Sarigam, sarigama, padani sa. This is called a Janaka raga. We can have ragas which are Janya or born of these ragas, which means a baby will have not as many as the parent. Sariga padasa. This raga doesn't have Sariga pa. I bypass the ma. Padasa. I bypass the ni. Sariga padasa. Sada pagaresa. This is a very popular raga.
Mohana.
It is
Yeah.
Mohan. Right. Now we could have a raga, which again is born of any of these parent ragas, where the swaras are not in sequence. They could be jumbled up. So this is what we call vakra. So I'm explaining these at a very basic level for the benefit of many students who are not, or rasikas, who are not aware of this nomenclature. Sagari gama pada pasa. Sagari gama pada pasa. Sani da pa magare sa. So the ascent or the way up is called arohana, and the descent is called avarohana. So this raga has a jumbled sequence of notes in the arohana. Sagari gama pada pasa. Sani da pa magare sa. This is a very beautiful traditional Carnatic raga called
Begada.
Begada. So this is also a Janya raga, but this is a Vakra raga. So
Janya or
now we
Shankarabharana.
Shankarabharana. Some people may like to say it's a Janya of Begada, of Harikambuji, but yeah, we won't go into that now. So in the literature on Carnatic music, we have now arrived at a system of 72 parent ragas, or as we call them, Melakarta ragas. So these are based on 16 swarasthanas. Okay. So the very first of the 72 ragas will be all the Shuddha swaras as we know it in Carnatic music. This is different from the Shuddha swaras in Hindustani music. Okay. So sa sari ga ma padani sa sa ni da pa ma ga re sa. Shuddha Rishabham, Shuddha Gandharam, Shuddha Madhyamam, Panchamam, Shuddha Devatam, Shuddha Nishatam, Shadjam. Now, Pa and Sa, the Panchamam and the Shadjam, are the unchanging swaras. They don't have any varieties in them. They are fixed in these positions. And the very last, the 72nd raga, which is called Rasika Priya, Sari ga ma padani sa sani da pa ma ga re sa. Now, broadly, these are divided into 36 and 36. The first 36 have the first ma or the Shuddha Madhyamam, and the second 36 have the Prati Madhyamam, which is the higher ma. So this is the general structure of the raga system in Carnatic music.
Since you mentioned parent raga and a child raga, I'm just taking a real life example. We teach a student of music, say Ra Ravenu in Bilahari or a Samba Shiva in a way in Kamas. Does it mean that they need to be aware of the parent scale, whether it's Shankarabharanam or Hrikambudi, that needs to be taught first, and then this? Does it help understanding?
Why would you want to confuse your students, Sai? It's an it's an effort enough when they're learning a new raga. They have to keep the raga in mind. They have to keep the sahityam in mind. They have to keep the talam in mind. So I think more is unnecessary at this point. I think these are aspects that one can grow into over time.
Yeah.
At some point you're teaching say Bilahari, and somebody when they learn Mohanam and they say, oh, this kind of sounds similar, and then you can explain about the similarities in the ragas. But to begin with, I think it's a bit
Pushing
much
it
to
too far.
load a student with too many details, right?
Yeah, I mean, for the record, I don't teach like that, but that was just a clarification I wanted to. Uh, we have a question from one of our Rasikas, which we'd like to see now.
Namaste Vijay ma'am, it's always a privilege to have your association. I have two questions for you. First one, we live in a digital world. Technology has made it so easy to learn. How was your learning experience with your guru? How did you manage to master the kritis without the help of technology? And my second question, I understand you grew up in Delhi. How was your experience attending concerts back then? And also, when did you start listening or performing concerts seriously? Thank you.
Thank you, Jaya. And that's wonderful to be connected with you from Atlanta. I mean, that is an example of technology for you today. Sai is in Delhi, I'm in Chennai, and you're in Atlanta, and we are connected. How amazing is that? Yes, I think technology is a double-edged sword. And at this point, I must say I was very fortunate that I didn't have to rely on technology to learn, because especially in your formative years, I think it's very important to be with the guru, because there are a lot, when you're learning, if you're learning over Skype or something like that, where you still have a guru to teach you, to correct, to review what you're doing, that's fine. But if you're relying on, say, a recording, which is still technology, then the recording is not going to turn around and say, you missed a note there, you missed a gamaka there. So, and in Carnatic music, a very, very unique thing is the Guru-Sishya relationship. And that, I think, is a discipline that gets cultivated from a young age when you go and the regard and respect that you give your guru. I mean, like we wouldn't sit till the guru said, sit down. And it's not that they were tyrants or monsters and we were scared of them, but it was just that sense of regard and awe that you have a guru, and for the art and for what the guru represents. I think that relationship is very, very important. And I cherish every one of my gurus and the very special relationship that I had with them. Having said that, in today's life, it's possible that you may not have access to a guru wherever you're living, and lifestyle has changed, and you may have to drive very far to go and learn from a guru. And in such cases, yes, technology is indeed a boon. And I must say that because I have many students overseas myself. But one has to be very careful, because what happens is see, these kind of nuances are very important in ragas. So these kind of things, if you miss it, do you see the difference? You're dropping that.
Yeah.
So these kind of inflections are some things which only gurus will point out to you and say, hey, you missed a note there. And this prayogam may be technically correct in terms of the swara prayogas, but this is not suitable for this ragam. Those kind of things. So I think it's very necessary, and wherever possible, to have a physical contact with the guru. Where it is absolutely not possible, then of course we rely on technology. I come to the second part of the question now. Yes, I grew up in Delhi, and kacheris were not as frequently held as they are now. Uh, and Delhi is a big place too, and we used to many concerts used to happen in South Delhi, and we lived more towards Central Delhi. And but my parents were so interested and were so keen that we children should be exposed to the kacheris that they would drive us quite far. And Delhi, winters can be severe, right, Sai?
Tell me about it.
And there was a time when we didn't have a car. My father had a two-wheeler. And despite that, we would go and, on Wellington Crescent and some of those roads, it used to be freezing in the night with all the trees and, but we wouldn't sacrifice a kacheri for anything. And we had this very beautiful organization called the South Delhi Music Circle, which was a chamber music organization. So we had the added advantage of sitting in a hall in a big room, and all crouched around on the floor around the artist, and we could catch every nuance, every flick of the head, and shake of the hand, and the raga nuances, and it was beautiful growing growing up in that atmosphere. And when something is limited to you in supply, it becomes very precious.
Totally.
So I find that in Chennai, there is almost not one, many kacheris happening every day. So what happens is people take them for granted. And, the same level of enthusiasm isn't maintained now as it used to be. And now you can also, again, technology. I can sit in the comfort of my house and listen to anybody over the internet. So, but the synergy or for an artist and the energy of a concert and the live exchanges that happen. I have seen when T.R.S. sir would sing Swarams and N. Chandrasekharan sir on the violin would play something, and it would just motivate T.R.S. sir to think of something else on the spot. And when the violins is playing, I have seen him sitting there and calculating and sing a beautiful Porutam in the next round. And these are things which a recording will not bring to life.
Yeah, you will have to only picture them. There have been so many instances when I wondered how I wish I was around in that concert when I listened to a recording. And one such artist, which I think most musicians revere, is TN Rajarathnam Pillai.
Absolutely.
We've heard so many stories from elders that, he used to play for hours and hours going around the temple when the Utsavam is happening and all of that. I don't think you had the chance to see or hear him in person, right? It's only through recordings. What have the reflections or, how do you reflect upon him as an artist, and do you draw inspiration from his ragas?
Absolutely, absolutely. He is definitely a name to reckon with in Carnatic music. And it would not be incorrect to say that he brought the Nadaswaram out from being a temple instrument into being a concert instrument. A concert as in sabhas, and as we know, understand a kacheri today. Traditionally, Nadaswaram has always been a temple instrument where it has been used in various sevas and, all the different mallaris that we have. Mallari is a composition very specific to the Nadaswaram. It doesn't have sahityam, it has only swara, progressions, and very, very intricate layam. And, the connoisseurs of earlier times, they could listen to a Mallari being played, and they would know which seva is happening in the temple. And, they would also, across vast spaces, across villages, from the temple, the sound would carry. So people would time their visit to the temple accordingly based on all that. Anyway,
Mm.
to come back to Rajarathnam Pillai. Um, so it's very interesting to see that actually Rajarathnam Pillai he was born Balasubramaniam.
Okay.
And his parents passed away when he was young, and he was brought up by his uncle, and he took his uncle's name and he became Thirumarugal Natesha Pillai. Thirumarugal Natesh Rajarathnam Pillai. His uncle was Thirumarugal Natesha Pillai, who was a very great Nadaswaram Vidwan himself, and he was known for his raga elaborations. So basically, the Nadaswaram tradition, what we look at its major contribution to Carnatic music is actually the Raga Alapana tradition. Because the Nadaswaram Vidwans used to play for hours and hours, and they would have these long stretches of Raga Alapana. And that is what we have seen in great Vidwans like Chamagudi Srinivas Iyer or Sri G.N. Balasubramaniam for that GNB, where they have openly spoken about the inspiration that they derived from the Nadaswaram players. And Rajarathnam Pillai was a phenomenon in the way he did that. And his name is synonymous with the Raga Todi, right? And which aspiring, known, established, unknown musician has not heard or been inspired by Rajaratnam's Todi? I think it's time now, Sai, to listen to Rajaratnam's Todi.
Yeah,
And I'm going to sign off here and enjoy the Todi. And we'll continue with Rajaratnam in our next episode.
absolutely. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy. Namaste.
Namaste, Vandanam, Vanakkam.